CBS News Bay Area Afternoon Edition with Ann Makovic.
Right now on the afternoon edition, school is out of session for the fourth day in a row as San Francisco teachers hit the picket lines. Thanks for joining us. About 6,000 educators walked off the job on Monday, demanding higher pay, better health care, and special education funding. At this point, still no end in sight. Taking a live look at the Embarcadero right now, where public school teachers, staff, and supporters all gathering for a rally. A lot of people out there. They're expected to march through the streets later this afternoon. And over at the Civic Center, union leaders held a news conference outside the War Memorial Building after not reaching a deal with the school district last night. The union blaming the district for leaving them waiting for hours without offering anything new. Even while off the job, the educators say they are using this as a teachable moment for students from the picket lines.
And this morning, one of my students, Julian, wanted to take the bullhorn. And so our lead teacher helped him sit down in a chair, and she put the bullhorn in his hand, and she put the chant sheet in front of him and said line by line, and he started chanting with and leading the entire school, leading his fellow students and leading his staff, his teachers, in showing how to speak up for our rights.
Both sides are back at the bargaining table today, and Mayor Daniel Lurie is encouraging them to continue talking until they get a deal done. Stick it out. Meantime, the district sent us a statement this morning saying in part that the superintendent, Dr. Maria Sue, engaged in 16 hours of bargaining with the union team. At 1:30 this morning, the district passed its latest counter offer to the union outlining its latest proposal for wages, healthcare, and special education. They say the union team has not yet responded. The district says as of 8 this morning, it is still waiting for the union's counter offer. We are going to follow this very closely all afternoon. Stay with us for updates on the negotiations and the school closures. KPIX.com and streaming on the free CBS News app. Meantime, in the North Bay, the Santa Rosa City School District is facing major cuts because of a huge budget deficit of its own. They need to cut $3 million in spending this fiscal year, and the trustees just approved a plan that will lead to layoffs. The district still needs to find another $23 million in cuts over the next year to avoid a state takeover. Last month, a state financial analyst said the district is so low on cash that it might not be able to pay its employees. A district spokesperson said those money problems started years ago when enrollment began dropping. And in San Jose, that school district also navigating budget concerns with rising costs and falling enrollment. Same story. The district is considering closing or consolidating schools. On Tuesday, a task force of parents, teachers, and district leaders met to come up with recommendations. They're expected to present those at the Board of Education's meeting tonight. 16 schools across the city are on the chopping block. At least 8, half of those schools, are going to be closed. The board is expected to make a final decision on March 12th. We'll be following that for you. Right now, BART leaders are talking about the transit agency's potential worst-case scenario as its budget deficit grows. Plans under consideration include sweeping station closures, service cuts, and mass layoffs. BART is projecting a $376 million budget deficit in the coming fiscal year. The agency says it needs revenue from a proposed sales tax hike to limit the damage and prevent those closures. That measure is going to go before all of us Bay Area voters this November. If the measure is rejected, BART could close up to 15 stations. Again, this is the doomsday scenario. Here is a look at the 10 most likely. They span the entire Bay Area, including Pittsburgh Center, South San Francisco, San Bruno, and South Hayward. Our Veronica Macias is at the station in Castro Valley, one of them on the chopping block, to get rider reaction to the news.
BART is keeping a close eye on the number of people using the agency's trains. BART warning today about what could be cut if new funding doesn't come through, including closures at some of the lowest ridership stations. It's facing a nearly $400 million budget crisis.
It would be massively disruptive to my commute, to my schedule. I commute 3 times a week into the city from this station.
Castro Valley's BART station is one of the 10 proposed for elimination. However, the plan to cut stations like this one from its map all rides on one big if. The proposed plan presented today before the Bay Area's Rapid Transit Board would only kick in should voters reject a proposed regional half-cent sales tax ballot measure in November, also known as the Connect Bay Area Act. While the board does not know if voters will want to invest in the transit agency and bail them out, people are already sounding the alarm to any proposed plan to eliminate stations.
It would be a mistake today to focus on fighting to maintain service at any particular station right now. It is missing the forest for the trees. This is a plan for how the agency plans to shut down over the course of 12 to 18 months. So for anyone who is listening to this hearing, let's be clear-eyed. Everyone here is going to lose if this measure does not pass.
BART says the presentation at today's workshop was aimed at giving people a look ahead and a better understanding of what's at stake. BART says it cannot resolve its structural deficit through service cuts alone and needs to implement drastic measures.
This would be really hard if the BART actually shuts down because, well, I usually take it to and from school because I don't have a car.
Yet these changes would drastically hurt people depending on its service to get around, and especially those relying on BART to get to work.
It's a huge part of any kind of city. It's a huge part of any kind of area. It's hugely important for the environment. It's hugely important for commuters. It's hugely important for mitigating traffic. I mean, dependable public transit is a huge part of everything any functional city.
Well, the board has until the end of this month to decide on the proposed plan, and if it's approved and the measure fails in November, we could be seeing those cuts by January of 2027. All right, let's take a live look outside. Sunny skies over San Francisco as we take a live look at the Golden Gate Bridge. Certainly a different picture from what we saw yesterday with rain, but sounds like more rain is on the way. First Alert meteorologist Jessica Birch tracking another system. Hey,
it's wild. We just got rid of the last of the showers here in the Bay Area this morning, and we're gearing up for more diving into this weekend. But from now until Sunday, enjoy this nice dry break that we have here in the Bay. We're also talking about light winds right now all throughout the Bay Area. Max sustained winds currently close to around 4 miles per hour in San Francisco. Just yesterday, it was so bad, actually, that there were delays and cancellations at the SFO airport due to strong winds. So just within a 24-hour period, it's wild the difference we've seen so far. We're sitting in the 60s today from the South Bay off into the East Bay. And along that coastline, as we head into the afternoon hours today, we're going to be under a beach hazard statement. A friendly reminder from the National Weather Service that rip currents and sneaker waves are possible once again along our shoreline. Be very careful out there today, tomorrow, lasting into Saturday's forecast. Now, through the next couple days, we're not seeing too much of a change. Partly cloudy skies to wrap up the day today, similar conditions tomorrow. But I want to time out that rain coming up in just a bit in your First Alert forecast that starts on Sunday. For now, though, I'm going to send it back over to you, Ann.
all right, thank you, Jess. We are learning new details about the deadly shooting of a man by deputies in San Leandro. The Alameda County Sheriff's Department says that 40-year-old East Bay musician Anthony Joseph Anderson called 911 early Monday and told dispatchers that he wanted to hurt people. When deputies responded to a home on Selborne Drive, authorities say that Anderson came out and pointed an object they believed was a gun, and 2 deputies shot him. The California Department of Justice is now investigating. New at noon, California is launching a civil rights probe into the botched Eaton fire evacuations in historically black Altadena. Attorney General Rob Bonta announced that investigation this morning, saying the people of West Altadena deserve answers to their questions.
The grief, the trauma they've experienced is unimaginable, unfathomable, and no amount of rebuilding can return all that they've lost. I also want to commend the community members of West Altadena who've spoken up in the wake of an unbelievably devastating experience, who've turned their pain into purpose. It's not an easy thing to do, and I have deep respect and appreciation for your resilience, your strength, and your courage.
Bonta says evacuation warnings for West Altadena came many hours after the same warnings were sent to the rest of Altadena. That comes more than a year after the Eaton fire killed 19 people and destroyed over 9,000 buildings, becoming one of the deadliest fires in California history. Meantime, on Capitol Hill, a partial government shutdown is looming. The White House sent a new proposal to Democrats to fund the Department of Homeland Security ahead of Saturday's deadline. Senators are expected to debate ICE reforms today as top immigration officials testify before the Senate. Now, this comes shortly after President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, announced that the immigration surge in Minnesota is ending. The unrest in the Twin Cities has pushed ICE reforms to the forefront of the funding debate. Natalie Brandt has more from the White House.
We've seen a big change here in the last couple of weeks.
The president's border czar, Tom Homan, announced this morning the federal immigration enforcement operation in Minnesota is winding down.
I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude.
Homan says a small federal footprint will remain following the weeks-long operation that set off a national debate over the Trump administration's immigration enforcement tactics.
It comes at a cost of the lives of 2 U.S. citizens, Renee Good and Alex Preddy.
Minnesota's attorney general was among state officials and immigration enforcement leaders testifying on Capitol Hill Thursday as the Senate debates reforms with a DHS funding deadline Friday.
The White House and Senate Democrats have traded proposals this week, while GOP lawmakers have pushed back against some of the key Democratic proposals, including restricting agents from wearing masks and tightening rules around warrants.
It is already the law that you need a judicial warrant to enter into somebody's home, but that is obviously being undermined.
If DHS funding lapses, a partial shutdown would impact agencies including the TSA, Coast Guard, and FEMA.
So you're going to go have a great night.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer signaled yesterday that Democrats will not support another short-term funding measure to extend the status quo. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says tomorrow he will adjourn the Senate for the weekend if a deal is not reached. Still ahead here at noon and streaming on CBS News Bay Area, a potential breakthrough in the search for the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, the latest on that investigation. And leaders looking for answers after that huge power outage left thousands of people in the dark. What San Francisco supervisors plan to do about it. And let's take another live look outside before we head to break. Looking at the Bay Bridge there and the Salesforce Tower. We're going to be right back. Well, some new evidence in the case of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. A source close to the investigation tells CBS News that a pair of black gloves found near her home are now being tested for DNA. So we're waiting for those results. The 84-year-old mother of the Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie disappeared almost 2 weeks ago. Today, FBI agents are fanning out across her neighborhood north of Tucson, searching the foothills through brush and along roadways. Authorities also set up that white tent you see there outside of her home this morning. They say they still have not figured out who sent unverified ransom messages to local news stations demanding Bitcoin. And TMZ says it received another note yesterday.
A huge amount of cybercrime is powered by cryptocurrency. There's a huge misperception about cryptocurrency transactions, and that lots of people think they're untraceable. That is totally untrue.
Investigators say they have received more than 4,000 calls to a tip line in a 24-hour period. They say they're tracking down every lead, but as you can imagine, only a fraction of them are viable. Happening today, supervisors in San Francisco set to question PG&E after those widespread winter power outages left many parts of the city with lights off for days. City leaders say it was a circuit breaker failure on December 20th that sparked a fire at PG&E's Mission substation, knocking out power to about 130,000 homes and businesses. Supervisor Ellen Wong says the city wants clear answers and a plan to prevent another blackout on this scale. PG&E has offered $200 to residential customers and $2,500 for commercial customers who were impacted by those outages. All right, back to our first alert weather. Taking a live look outside from our Mount Diablo camera. A little bit of, what is that? Clouds, haze, fog?
Clouds.
What do we got?
Yeah, it's just clouds.
Okay.
Nothing special.
Okay,
and honestly, hey, at least it's not a rain cloud. We're done with that for now. But once we head into this weekend's forecast, we do have more rain right around the corner. So enjoy this dry little stretch while we have it. Let's start off locally. I want to just check some things off the list. Starting off tonight, we're under a beach hazard statement issued by the National Weather Service along our coastline, where we can see rip currents and sneaker waves. And I know the weather is going to be nice the next couple days, and it might feel like it's promising to head out there to the coast, but be very mindful of these high surf conditions. We're gearing up for 60s in places like Santa Cruz all the way up into Half Moon Bay, low 60s all the way off into the East Bay too. I'm going to actually pull up a little bit larger of a map. I want to show you California, and just showing you the next 6 to 10 days. All this green on this map paints a really good picture that we're actually seeing wetter than normal conditions here locally and widespread throughout the whole state as we head into the next 6 to 10 days. This is our rainfall outlook issued by the National Weather Service, and a couple things to talk about with this. Of course, like I just mentioned, from now until at least Saturday afternoon, we're gearing up for dry weather, but you are going to notice a big shift halfway through this weekend, and I'm just going to show you that right now. Partly cloudy skies for us on Friday, looking beautiful. We notice a huge band of clouds starting to sweep and hug us tight as we head into our Saturday forecast. It's still dry on Saturday, though, which is great news for any outdoor activities. But as early as Sunday morning, around 2 a.m., that's when the next band of rain starts pushing in. And this is going to be a heavy system, too. I want to show you a few more things as well. You take a look at the next 7 days. We're going to see the rainfall outlook in full force throughout the next 6 to 10 days, starting Sunday, lasting into next week. Heavier rain starts to fall. We're gearing up for gusty winds once again. This is the next big storm that's going to impact all of us here in the Bay Area. A good chance of convective activity, meaning thunderstorm activity into next week as well. And we'll track that closely here in the Weather Center and keep you updated on those rainfall totals right around the corner. For now, though, enjoy this nice dry break that we have. We have 60s in the forecast today. It starts to cool down heading into this weekend and early next week as that system moves in. Back to you.
I love it. Thanks, Jeff. Still ahead, pros and celebrities teeing off in Monterey County. The big names hitting the links. Cool shot from our chopper there. The 2026 Pebble Beach Pro-Am tees off today in Monterey County. The iconic golf course on the Central California coast is considered one of the most beautiful in the world. So today through Sunday, celebrities are paired with pros on the famed course, with fans lining up to see all the action. Golfers teeing off on 3 different courses, competing for an almost $4 million purse. Quarterback Steve Young and former Niners QB Alex Smith are among the top amateur golfers. Also playing this year, Travis Kelce, longtime Kansas City Chiefs tight end and 3-time Super Bowl champ, and fiance, of course, of Taylor Swift, best known as. The Pro-Am brings millions of dollars in revenue to the local community. Donations this year are on par with last year, raising money for the Boys and Girls Club, schools, and first responders. Coming up here on CBS News Bay Area, whether you have a Valentine's date or not, more people are buying gifts for their true loves this year. Just how much Americans are spending on their pets. Valentine's Day is Saturday, and people are taking the chance to shower their pets with love. So far, Americans have spent $2.1 billion on Valentine's Day gifts for their pets. That's up from $1.7 billion just last year.
You need something nice and warm, so I picked this up yesterday. I said, and you'll look very cute too. He makes a statement out there.
I treat them any special holiday. They do a lot for us, so why not return it to them?
Now, meantime, across the pond, a survey from a European pet food company found there's an age gap when it comes to spoiling your pet. 75% of boomers say they are not going to spend anything on their animals, while half of Gen Z and millennials plan on buying gifts for them. You still got a couple of days, and hey, if you haven't found love, you can definitely find it at your local shelter. That's my message today. Thanks for joining us. Remember, we are streaming 24/7 on the free CBS News app. Download the app, choose live, and then be Bay Area.